Let's go to Tel Aviv now and speak to the former Israeli Foreign Minister, Tzipi Livni. Good morning, Ms. Livni.
Hello.
Can we start by clarifying what Mr. Netanyahu said last night? He spoke of a new phase in a long and difficult war. This is an invasion.
Yes, this is part of it, yes.
He said also that, that Israel's principal objective here is the eradication of Hamas, or at least its military capacity. And he put that above the rescue of the hostages. Is that an acceptance that the Israeli government now thinks that some of those hostages may not come back alive?
I think that the Israeli government is trying to do both. It's quite a difficult goal, given that Hamas will try to use or abuse the situation and use the hostages. But yet, according to my understanding, they are trying to put the pressure on Hamas and hopefully release the prisoners as well, the hostages as well. Not an easy task, and we'll see in the future whether they succeeded.
But the fate of the hostages will not be essentially something that prevents military action to fulfill the first objective, which is the eradication of Hamas's military capacity.
The objective of Israel is to stop Hamas from attacking Israelis, doing these atrocities that we just saw a few weeks ago. And we tried in the past just to reach deterrence or to reach an agreement with Hamas, and it didn't help. So since 2005, almost 20 years, there is not one Israeli soldier in Gaza Strip. We dismantled all the settlements, and Hamas is continuing in attacking Israel. And the last atrocities, things that are really crimes against humanity, is something that we cannot take it anymore. And so the objective is to act against them, to dismantle them, to stop them, and to give security to Israel. So the hostages, of course, is the main goal as well, because the families are waiting, because they were abducted, and we are talking about women and children and babies. But I do believe that while Israel is acting militarily, the role of the international community is put the pressure on Hamas through Qatar, that is financing and supporting Hamas to release them without any conditions at all.
I want to come back
This is a humanitarian issue.
Thank you. I want to come back to talk to you about the issue of how one might deal with Hamas. But if I may just stick with the military action for the moment, and the point you've just made about the attitude of the international community, there is an increasingly acrimonious war of claim and counterclaim about who is actually carrying out atrocities. And I want to put to you what the EU's head of foreign affairs has said in the past 24 hours. He said, Gaza is in complete blackout and isolation while heavy shelling continues. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency warns about the desperate situation of Gaza people without electricity, food and water. Far too many civilians, including children, have been killed. This is against international humanitarian law. It is a direct accusation at Israel.
So at first, maybe this is the time to remind the EU that when Israel left Gaza Strip, the EU took responsibility with the United Nations on Rafah crossing between Gaza Strip and Egypt to prevent infiltration of weapons. And when Hamas took over Gaza Strip, they just left. So there is no comparison between these terrorist organizations that act against, make crimes against humanity. I truly don't want even to speak about the rape, the cutting heads and organs and sending pictures to families how they are killing their own loved ones when we are trying to prevent this from happening. And therefore, Israel called the civilians in Gaza City to leave the city because Hamas is hiding there. tunnels underneath hospitals and within the city, and we are enabling the international community to transfer all the humanitarian needs to the Palestinians that left Gaza Strip to the south. This is our only responsibility according to the international law. There is no place in the international law that forces a country to provide its enemies the possibility.
International law might say that Israel is the occupying power in Gaza. It controls access, it controls supplies.
Let's speak about it. Gaza is being, we have a border with Gaza Strip. We have two sides of borders with Gaza Strip. One border is between Gaza and Egypt. When we left Gaza Strip, we didn't want to close these borders. In fact, we hope that they can build a new Singapore there. But instead of doing the best for their life, Hamas took over and is using all the money that it gets in not for the population, but for rearming.
Forgive me, I discussed that several times with representatives of the Israeli government, and I understand the point. May I just come back to the war aims here? Mr. Netanyahu says that the aim is to eliminate Hamas's military capacity, to clear out the hundreds of miles of tunnels and so on. Do you genuinely think that this is going to be possible as a military exercise to eliminate Hamas?
We have no other alternative. As I told you before, I was a member of the Israeli cabinet during military operations against Hamas. Once we tried to reach deterrence, the other time we reached an agreement with. Nothing helps. So this is the only possibility. To say that this is an easy no, it's going to be very difficult. It's not an easy task, but what's the other alternative? To live with or close to these terrorists that are just trying to infiltrate into our cities, towns, kibbutz, and kill women and children. So I hope that it's possible, but this is the role of the Security Cabinet.
Tzipi Livni, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.